Today I wanted to talk about how it feels after a layoff and all the things that you inevitably start questioning. So, the first thing about a layoff is the reminder and the reality that you were laid off and not fired. Which being laid off means that you didn't do anything wrong. It was at no fault of your own, it being the loss of your job. And while that's really the best case scenario, I suppose, for unexpectedly losing a job, sometimes, a lot of the times, it doesn't make it any easier. I've been through 3 layoffs in my career, all of which were obviously not at fault. I was not at fault for. The first one was because of a family emergency in the office. I worked for a very small office, and one of my coworkers had a family emergency and had to take leave, and I was new at the company, and the leadership decided it made the most sense to let me go versus other options. That was a shock. I walked into the office, and about 10 minutes later, I walked out without a job, had no idea it was coming. Um, so that one was hard. I think the first is always the hardest. Second one was due to the pandemic. We've all been there, done that with the pandemic. It was not an easy time, no explanation needed. And my most recent was this September. I had an idea this one was coming. I was originally furloughed for 90 days and then was eventually let go. And that was due to the economy and a lack of projects in the pipeline. So, no big deal there, but still hard. There's the initial feelings that may be surprising, like relief and freedom and feeling light, especially when you've been in limbo on a furlough for so many days. For me, it was 90 days, and just questioning what to do next. Should you try something else? What happens if they call you tomorrow? Having all of that gone when the layoff happened was extremely um, freeing for me. It was a huge relief, but there's always going to be that reality that you're going to question, well, did I do something wrong? Could I have done something better? And reminding yourself that it was not your fault. You were not at fault. And even if your management says that's you, it can still be a hard thing to process. So, four-legged family members help. If you haven't met her before, this is Munch. She's my tabby. She likes to come up and help, and I'm learning to bother her, so she does. She goes away. I love her dearly. She actually brought me a toy. If you haven't met her in some of my other videos, a lot of times she brings me a toy. She's more of a dog than a cat. She loves to play fetch. So I can see her toy over there. I would throw it, but she has not brought it to me, so she will have to wait. And now she's rubbing on my lamp. So hopefully that doesn't topple in the middle of this video. If it does, that'll be fun. There's no edits here, so you might get a surprise. Keep watching. We'll see how it turns out. Um, Back to the topic at hand. So I always go back to, I was told by leadership in my exit interview that it was not my fault. There was nothing I could have done differently, and that it was just a pipeline problem that they were having because of the economy. And that's all fine and good, but it still makes you wonder, because it makes you wonder, why were you chosen out of all the people at the company? It makes you wonder because you have done something different. And for me, there's a lot of questions that come with it, because in my annual review, I received a 4 out of 4 exceeds expectations. I had checked all the boxes. I had done everything I was asked. I had gone above and beyond, and it still wasn't enough. It's so difficult to process that. And I think one of the ways you can focus on other things, you can focus on the positive. It gets you out of that negative mindset. I look back at all the growth I had, all the network connections I made, all the things I was proud of and accomplished, and most of which I did by myself. I see on the project for the second half of it. And that that certainly helps. It helps take the sting out of it all. And let's see if she'll lay on my lap. Lay on my lap. Come here. I know you're helping. So that takes the sting out of it. I like looking back at those accomplishments sometimes. Some people put them up on boards or whatever. I just run through them in my head. I think of all the support I had from my clients and all the positive words I had from my managers and the people I worked with, not necessarily the positive words from the leadership team. Those were unfortunately few and far between, which someone expected because of the nature of the work I was doing, a little more removed from that level of management. But either way, I think looking at the positives is great. I also focus a lot on the things that I know that even if I'm laid off, they can't take away from me, that no one can take away from me. And that goes beyond the accomplishments. There's a bunch of skills that I learned, that I gained, that I grew in, and those are things that come with me for the rest of my life and into my next role that I'm so grateful for. Another one is my network connections, and the relationships that I have built with my clients and my coworkers. Those are things that no one can take away, and they're things that will be a huge asset moving forward. Other things that I look at is the resilience that I've gained from all these layoffs. I bounce back faster. Of course, the first and the second one were a little hard to bounce back in the middle of a pandemic. I had some factors against me. I guess you could say there's still factors against me in this current one with the economy and the job market, but I can bounce back. I can be positive about it. I can get things going. I can network. I know what to do, and that's a huge thing. I think there's a lot to say about the confidence that it does build in your skills, your ability, your abilities that you have, your network connections, and being able to figure it out. Those are huge things, and they're things that not only serve you in life, but also in your next role. Are great things I like to bring up in interviews. I don't just sit around and I eat bonbons on the couch as some people do. I started this YouTube channel, blogging, working with AI. I'm going to go back to school to get a project management certificate. So lots of great things going, and all things that would not have come have not been for the layoff. So those are all things that I like to think about, and I think they're helpful in staying as positive as you can be in the midst of the negative, and realizing that yes, we're not at fault for it. It may feel like at times that you're at fault, but you're not. That's why it's a layoff. And the other thing too is like, because you weren't at fault of the layoff, you don't have to justify it to anybody. You don't have to explain the situation to anybody. You don't owe anybody an explanation as to why you're in the situation you're in. Focus on what you're good at. Focus on what you're doing. Focus on, what you're doing, what you're building, and where you're going. Those are the biggest things to communicate with people, and just move forward. Don't dwell on it. There's no use in dwelling and questioning and looking back. Continue to fail forward, and you'll get to where you're going, and it'll all work out. It always works out. So yeah, just a little random riff on it today. I don't know. It was something I was thinking about today while I was driving, so I wanted to share. Hope it helps somebody, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.